How much does it cost to reupholster your couch? Today we're going to talk a little bit about that. Hey guys, it's Mark with Craftsman Upholstery. If you've ever asked yourself if you should reupholster your grandma's old couch that's been passed down from generation to generation, today we might have an answer for you. We're going to go over the costs associated with the reupholstery process, some considerations you may not have thought about, and some tips that could save you big dollars when you reupholster your piece. We're going to look at these costs through the eyes of a chair, a couch, and a sectional. And at the end of this video, stay tuned, we're gonna tell you about what you might expect to pay at your local upholsterer. When it comes to the question of, do I even reupholster this piece of furniture? Is it worth it? It comes down to three things: quality, sentimentality, and cost. First, we're looking at the build quality of the piece. If it has good bones, a good frame, then it might be worth reupholstering it. If it doesn't, it might not be worth it. If the piece has sentimental value to you, or if you're not done with the piece, you really love it, it still might be worth overcoming those other barriers. The second part of the equation is the complexity of the piece. Does it have tufting? Does it have complex curves? Does it have attached cushions, skirting? Does it have finished woodworking that needs some love? The more complex the piece, the more labor it costs, and the more that's gonna come out in your final cost. So for our chair, we've got a diamond tufted back, and it's sewn in, so that is a little bit more than if it's just folded in. Overall, the shape is really simple and it shouldn't be too much money, but the tufting will affect the price on this one. And now for our couch, we've got a tufted back and loose seat cushions, and the woodworking is actually in really good shape, so we don't need to touch that. So the main cost increase on this one is just the tufted back with the rolled arms. So for our sectional, we've got loose back cushions. It's a pretty simple design, so it's gonna take a lot of fabric, but labor is gonna be pretty minimal on this one. Once you've decided to have your piece redone, the first thing your upholsterer is gonna look at is the frame. Is it loose? Does it have any repairs that need to be made? Do you have any changes that you want to do to make it more beautiful, more you? You might decide that you want to change your arm, or if it's a wing back, you might want to make it a little bit more modern design. And all those things go into the shop rate that your upholsterer will have for frame modifications. So your upholsterer will next look at the foam and padding. Quality foam is generally a lot more expensive than people realize. On the back of your sofa, where there's less pressure, you generally don't need to replace your foam. But your seat is a place you do not want to skimp. The seat is where most of your weight goes, and it takes a lot of pressure, and you want that comfortable and buoyant. The arms you don't want to skimp on as well if it's needed. Sometimes you can get away with a layer of cotton. Cotton lasts a long time, where foam wears out over time. So if you're looking to save a little bit of money, try to supplement your existing padding with some cotton or bonded Dacron, but really don't skimp on the seat. So for our chair, the padding is gonna run between $100 and $250, depending on if you're doing just the seat or the entire padding. For our sofa, you're looking between $200 and $500 for padding. For our sectional, you're looking between $600 and $1,500, depending on how much foam work you're doing on that. If you're liking the information in this video, please give us a thumbs up. As a small channel, apparently it'll help more people to see the content we're putting out. And if you're really liking it, please consider subscribing. So after foam, you go on to one of the most expensive and exciting parts of upholstery, which is the fabric. The costs on those can be anywhere from $30 a yard to upwards of $300 a yard. So those costs can add up quick if you have a high cost per yard of fabric. When choosing fabric, you may decide you like a pattern. If it's a large pattern, you may end up using a lot more yardage to pattern match, and it will increase the cost of your piece. Most upholsterers will actually have a lot of remnant fabrics from previous projects, and you likely can get a really good deal on fabric if you go with a remnant piece. One of the ways people look to save money on their project is to look online for a fabric. If you do look online, just make sure that you're getting a good upholstery grade fabric. We have another video that you can learn all the different things you need to look for. So if you decide to use leather for your project, you have to remember that leather grows on cows, and so it's irregular shaped, it might have flaws in it, it usually lasts way longer and is super durable. And a hide is typically around 40 to 60 square feet, and you're gonna need several hides for each piece. The cost of leather can be anywhere from $300 to about $1,000 per hide on average. And for our chair, you're gonna need about 6 yards of fabric, or about $250 to $500, depending on the fabric you choose. If you go leather, it's gonna be 2 hides, or about $840. For our sofa, we're looking at about 17 yards of fabric, which would be anywhere from about $600 to $1,100. If you're going leather, it's about 6 hides, or $2,200. For our sectional, you're looking at 39 yards of fabric, and that would run anywhere from about $1,400 to $2,200. If you go with leather, it's about 12 hides for about $5,000. Before we wrap things up with the final cost, want to touch on exposed wood, including bases, legs, finished trims. These over time can get pretty hammered. So the question is, do I refinish? Do I touch up? Touch up is just some basic color fixes, and it costs a pretty minimal amount and has a lot of benefit. It doesn't usually fix any dings, but it fixes the color. So you can fix it for anywhere from like $50 to $150 on the usual. Where refinishing, you're taking the entire finish off, sanding it down to smooth, and then you're applying a new finish. That can be a little bit more extensive and costly, $300 to $600 depending on the piece. Depending on where you're going with your piece, you might find it worth it to do that, especially if you're going to combine pieces and try to match the color. So finally, the final cost. So if we were to add up all the different things we talked about, tightening the frame, new foam, fabric, touch up, and labor to upholster your piece, you're going to end up with a total cost for the chair of $1,420, for the sofa $2,350, and for the sectional of $4,800. Most upholsterers, if you do all of this at once, will give you a little bit of a discount. Keep in mind as well that most pieces don't need all of these things, so you're going to be able to cut down on your cost a little bit by just bringing to the table what you need. If you do have a piece that needs everything done to it, this is actually a pretty good ballpark for what you might pay, depending on your region you live in. So you're gonna wanna ask your upholsterer about pickup and delivery costs as well, if they offer it, how much it is, and also how long it's gonna take to get your piece done. And there's different seasons where they might be less busy than others, so just check on that with your upholsterer. So a couple tips that will help your upholsterer get this all dialed in for you. Send them a picture of the piece from the front and also from a diagonal angle, the overall length, depth, and height of your piece. Send that in, whether you're coordinating with them through email or through text. It's good to have a paper trail so that you have all this documented, because the process may take a little bit of time. And also any other considerations or changes to the design you want to make, so that your upholsterer can make sure to get it exactly the way you want it. All right, that's it for today. Please leave us a comment if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time.